Imagine an empire so vast that the sun never set upon its lands. At its height, the British Empire controlled nearly 1/4 of the world's land surface and governed hundreds of millions of people across every inhabited continent. From the icy wilderness of Canada to the bustling cities of India, from the deserts of Africa to the shores of Australia, British influence reached almost every corner of the globe. But how did a relatively small island nation off the coast of Europe become the largest empire in human history? The answer is a story of ambition, exploration, trade, military power, industrial innovation, and political strategy. It is a story that reshaped nations, transformed economies, and left a legacy that still influences the modern world today. This is the story of how the British Empire became the largest empire in history. In the 16th century, England was not yet a world superpower. The great powers of Europe were Spain and Portugal. Their ships sailed across oceans, discovering new lands and establishing colonies throughout the Americas, Africa, and Asia. England lagged behind. However, under Queen Elizabeth I, England began to challenge its rivals. English sailors and explorers ventured into unknown waters, seeking new trade routes and opportunities. One of the most important moments came in 1588. Spain launched the Spanish Armada, a massive fleet intended to invade England. But the English Navy successfully defeated the Armada, securing England's independence and demonstrating its growing naval strength. This victory gave England confidence and opened the door to future expansion overseas. The dream of building an empire had begun. During the early 17th century, England turned its attention westward. In 1607, English settlers established Jamestown in Virginia, the first permanent English settlement in North America. Soon, more colonies followed. Across the Atlantic coast, English communities grew and prospered. Colonists cultivated tobacco, traded goods, and built thriving settlements. These colonies provided Britain with valuable resources and new markets. The Atlantic Ocean became a highway of commerce connecting Europe, Africa, and the Americas. British merchants grew wealthy from trade, particularly through products such as sugar, tobacco, and cotton. As wealth flowed into Britain, the foundations of a future empire grew stronger. While Britain expanded in North America, another opportunity emerged in Asia. In the year 1600, Queen Elizabeth I granted a charter to the East India Company. Initially, the company was simply a trading organization. But over time, it became one of the most powerful corporations in history. The East India Company established trading posts throughout India and gradually increased its influence. Its officials negotiated with local rulers, built military forces, and controlled important commercial centers. A major turning point came in 1757 during the Battle of Plassey. The company's forces defeated the Nawab of Bengal and gained control over one of India's wealthiest regions. This victory transformed Britain from a trading partner into a ruling power. India became the jewel of the British Empire. Its enormous population, resources, and wealth helped fuel Britain's rise to global dominance. Throughout history, control of the seas has often meant control of global power. Britain understood this better than anyone. The Royal Navy became the strongest naval force in the world. British warships protected trade routes, defended colonies, and defeated rival powers. Throughout the 18th century, Britain fought numerous wars against France, Spain, and the Netherlands. Each victory expanded British influence. One of the most significant conflicts was the Napoleonic Wars. After the defeat of Napoleon in 1815, Britain emerged as the dominant naval power on Earth. No rival fleet could match the strength of the Royal Navy. For nearly a century, British ships controlled major trade routes across the globe. This naval supremacy allowed Britain to connect distant colonies into a single global empire. If Britain's navy was the shield of the empire, the Industrial Revolution was its engine. Beginning in the late 18th century, Britain became the birthplace of modern industry. New inventions transformed manufacturing. Factories replaced traditional workshops. Steam engines revolutionized transportation. Railways connected cities and ports. Productivity increased dramatically. British factories produced textiles, machinery, iron, and steel on a massive scale. As industrial output expanded, Britain became known as the workshop of the world. Industrial wealth funded military expansion, infrastructure projects, and overseas investments. Steam-powered ships allowed goods and people to travel faster than ever before. Technology gave Britain advantages that many nations could not match. The Industrial Revolution turned Britain into the world's leading economic power. By the 19th century, European nations competed fiercely for territory in Africa. Britain sought strategic locations, natural resources, and access to important trade routes. British influence expanded into Egypt, Sudan, South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and many other regions. One of Britain's most valuable acquisitions was control of the Suez Canal. Opened in 1869, the canal linked the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. This dramatically shortened travel between Britain and India. Protecting the canal became a top priority for British leaders. Across Africa, British territories grew rapidly. Railways, ports, and administrative systems were established. By the early 20th century, Britain controlled vast areas of the African continent. Britain's empire stretched far beyond Africa and Asia. In 1770, Captain James Cook claimed Australia's eastern coast for Britain. Over time, Australia developed into a major settlement colony. Canada also became one of Britain's most successful territories. Its vast natural resources and strategic location made it extremely valuable. Meanwhile, New Zealand became another important part of Britain's growing Pacific presence. Unlike some colonies focused primarily on trade, these territories attracted large numbers of British settlers. They helped extend British culture, institutions, and influence across the globe. Together, they became key pillars of the empire. By the early 20th century, the British Empire had reached its greatest extent. In 1920, it covered approximately 35 million square kilometers. Nearly 1/4 of the Earth's land surface was under British control. The empire included India, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Nigeria, Egypt, Hong Kong, and numerous territories across the Caribbean and Pacific. More than 400 million people lived under British rule. The English language spread around the world. British legal systems influenced governments on multiple continents. International trade networks connected distant regions through London. The phrase, "the empire on which the sun never sets," became a symbol of Britain's extraordinary global reach. Never before had a single empire controlled so much territory across so many continents. Yet maintaining such a vast empire came at a tremendous cost. The First World War placed enormous pressure on Britain's economy and military. Millions of soldiers served in the conflict. The financial burden was immense. Then came the Second World War. Although Britain emerged victorious, the war left the nation economically weakened. At the same time, nationalist movements gained strength throughout the colonies. Many people demanded independence and self-government. The age of empire was beginning to fade. One of the most significant turning points came in 1947 when India gained independence. India had long been considered the crown jewel of the empire. Its departure signaled the beginning of a broader process of decolonization. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, numerous African, Asian, and Caribbean territories achieved independence. One by one, Britain's colonies became sovereign nations. The empire gradually dissolved. What had once been the largest empire in history transformed into a network of independent countries connected through diplomacy, trade, and shared history. The era of British imperial dominance had come to an end. The rise of the British Empire remains one of the most remarkable stories in world history. From a relatively small island nation, Britain built an empire that spanned continents and shaped the lives of hundreds of millions of people. Its success was driven by exploration, trade, naval power, industrial innovation, and strategic expansion. Its influence helped spread the English language, global commerce, modern infrastructure, and legal institutions around the world. Yet the empire also remains a subject of debate, raising important questions about colonialism, power, and the lasting impact of imperial rule. Whether viewed as a force for progress, exploitation, or a mixture of both, one fact is undeniable. The British Empire changed the course of human history. And even today, long after its decline, its legacy continues to shape the modern world. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more fascinating stories from history.